Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Nitro from Life's Resurrection Project. I'm going to do this little story on Chumlee for one reason. I enjoyed Pawn Stars. And a lot of you don't know my very first job as a kid in, I would say, 1977 was Circus Hotel and Casino. So, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Elvis has left the building. But anyway, this is what's going on with Chumlee, everybody. If you please like, subscribe, and share. And Chumlee got arrested and got caught up in some stuff in Las Vegas. So this is a cat. He does Vegas profile stories. And let's take a peek and see what's going on with Chumlee lately and the charges that were brought against him. And, everybody gets this get out of jail free card once in their life. And I think he took that. So, everybody. Sorry, Nitro's got to get his.
Austin Lee Russell.
Austin Lee Russell.
Well, he's better known to the world as Chumlee. Anybody who watches the History Channel knows the Pawn Stars. Now, growing up, Chumlee, his best friend, Corey Harrison. Corey Harrison's dad and grandfather owned the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop, which is featured in the show The Pawn Stars on the History Channel. Now, for years, Chumlee, he's been everybody's favorite to watch. He's the one who added basically this affable, dopey character that you see on Pawn Stars, and everybody laughs at his antics. Now, this dude does add worth. He knows a lot about Jordans, pinball machines, things like that, comic books. The kid's kind of a savant. I think that's an okay thing to say still these days. I'm not sure. I'm gonna look it up before I put this out though. So we would all sit back, we would laugh at the goofiness of this dude. Then all of a sudden that laughter, it turned to shock. What happened? Why did we all think less of Chumlee? March 9th, 2016. Officers and detectives of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, they serve a warrant on Chumlee's house. Now what was that warrant for? Well, that's the craziest part of the story. Police had a bag charge investigation. We all know what type of charges we're talking about. Bill Cosby type of charges. Now during this search, they actually focused in on a certain room in his house. It was called the Chum Chum room. I'm not making that up.
Did you see that? The Chum Chum room. It's a pretty nice house though, wasn't it? Wouldn't y'all like to have a crib like that? Obviously, Chum Chum was making some money. Alright, everybody. Back to the video.
The dude was a bachelor in Las Vegas doing his thing. So they go in the Chum Chum room, and there's a vault. Inside of that vault, they found a mother lode. Now they found a small amount of crystal. And I'm not talking about that sketchy girl. I'm talking about the illicit crystal. Now this kind of blew my mind, because Chumlee, that's not a small dude. Definitely does not look like a tweaker to me. Maybe he just did it every now and then. I don't know.
Crystal? How many girls you know named Crystal that are sketchy? Oh my god.
It's Las Vegas. Now they also found a gallon bag with some Mary Jane in it. That, on its own, not that bad. It is what it is. Just about everybody is okay with that type of thing these days. Then they found 12 Pow Pows. Now only 4 of these were actually registered to Chumlee. Now some of them were the handheld kinds, some of them were the longer kinds, but then they found themselves a little MP5. Now being from Vegas, I haven't seen many MP5s on the streets. I know that they're out there, I've heard about them here and there. That's not something that's easy to get a hold of out there. I've seen everything from pineapple hand grenades. One time there was a dude, he had this rocket looking thing. I heard it was from a shoulder fire, and he was batting rocks with it out in front of somebody's house that owed him money. That's the last time I hung out with that guy, because Rick don't like to hang out with people that are that loose. They're just so far off their rocker that they're willing to bat rocks with him to make a point. Now, when it comes to these pow pals, none of them were stolen or anything like that. He just hadn't had them registered. And the fact that they arrested him because of the drug possession in this, they added their little spin on it, saying, hey, possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. Now, usually a prohibited person, in Nevada at least, that means that you have a felony. Well, he didn't, but simply having drugs and a gun makes that a prohibited person. Aside from all the illicit activity, I mean, you do have a right to bear arms. Had he registered these weapons, he probably would not have gone down the way he did in this case. Aside from that, they also found Xanax and trace amounts of blow. Apparently the trace amounts in that is they actually found an empty baggie next to a dollar bill that was rolled up with a little bit of, baby powder sitting on the side of it. They charged that man with possession of coke for simply having a rolled up dollar bill with a little bit of smudge on it. That is not being in possession of anything. Trace amounts should never be a possession of anything.
Hey, maybe he was like in Hangover. Maybe he got slipped a Mickey. Maybe Chow showed up and, jumped out of the back of Trump naked with his, hanging out. I don't know. Let's find out, people.
Find trace amounts, that means that I am out of it. I do not possess it anymore. It is gone. So they arrest Chumlee. They charged him originally with 20 counts, and that included possession of controlled substance and firearms charges. Now, strangely enough, he was never charged in the case that they were originally there for to search that man's house. He was never once charged in a scumbag case. Figure that one out. They just came up there, said, hey, some girl said you did something, we're going to search your house, we're going to take everything that we can find, because when you're investigating something along those lines, absolutely an MP5 needs to be a part of that investigation and needs to be taken and seized. They know what they're doing. Metro knows what they're doing. They found any way they could into that man's house. Now the police also seized clothing, bedding from all around the house, took blood samples from Chumlee. And then they turned it into this big thing. But it wasn't like the police said at all. Basically, you hear them tell it, they're putting him out there like he's Tony Montana, just full of it, got all this craziness around him. And maybe he was. Growing up in Las Vegas, it wasn't anything to see somebody who has different types of illegal items laying around their house at any given time. It's kind of the vibe. That's the Vegas vibe. Especially if you're a bachelor in his 30s.
Not Vegas. You don't find that stuff in Vegas. I know when I was in Vegas, what happened in Vegas stayed in Vegas. Still think he did. Alright, let's go.
Kind of famous, you're at least semi-famous, you're gonna have a stripper pole, you're gonna have firearms, you're gonna have illicit materials laying around. It just is what it is. We call that Tuesday in Vegas. Now they also seized little baggies and a scale. Because of that, they tried to charge him originally like he was a dealer. Listen, I got news for you. If you're watching right now, Metro Detectives, everybody who does any type of drugs in Las Vegas always has baggies and always has their own scale. Why would you have baggies? Well, what if you want to send your friend home with some when they leave the party? Why would you have a scale? People rip you off. You want to be able to weigh your own stuff. I once had a triple beam. If I was dealing with somebody I did not like, I gave them the triple beam. Guess what was on the triple beam? I smeared a little bit of super glue under the bottom of the triple beam on one side so that it weighed more, and so I would give you less. Hey, not proud of it, but that's the type of scumbagging I was doing back then. Now, for all of these charges, Chumlee was given $62,000 bail, and he was quickly bailed out, obviously. The thing is, this wasn't his first run-in with the law. Back in 2008, Chumlee was arrested for a charge of loitering for a lady of the night, we'll call it, if you get my drift. And it's not really damning stuff. That's basically a John charge. And I mean, look at this guy. If this was a yearbook, Chumlee would absolutely be voted most likely to catch a charge for trolling for hoes. Now, before all of you say, wait, isn't that legal in Vegas? No, in Clark County, it is absolutely illegal. That's the reason why Lamar Odom got caught stroking out high on everything that he could find in Pahrump and not Las Vegas. Because everybody knows if you're going to go do that, Vegas would be a better place to do it than Pahrump, Nevada. Bottom line, Vegas does not allow the tender shuffle. Now, a couple of months later, Chumlee was offered a sweetheart deal in this, and maybe it's because he's known, maybe it's because
shuffle. What's the tender shuffle? Someone please explain. The tender shuffle. I don't know. Maybe we ought to listen to figure out what the tender shuffle is.
Whatever the reason, they threw the best deal I've heard of at the man. He got 3 years probation in which he had to stay out of trouble. If he stayed out of trouble, the original charge that he pled guilty to in this for probation was 1 count of possession of a firearm by a prohibited person and 1 count attempted possession of a controlled substance. Now in Vegas or in Nevada, we call this a wobbler. Basically, you're pleading guilty to
a wobbler. In my day, it was called your 1 get out of jail free card. So if you remember right, when you were a kid and you got, I got caught drag racing in my Corvette and I had 5 charges and blah, 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 blah. Back in the day, they would say, okay, you're on probation for this amount of time. You got all these tickets. If you fix this in the first year of you not getting in any trouble, it'll all be wiped off your record. That's your get out of jail free card. We'll continue.
You stay out of trouble under probation. At the end of that probation, they drop that felony, convict you on the gross misdemeanor so that you don't have a felony on your record. My first case was a wobbler. I got charged with grand larceny and a conspiracy that goes along with it. By the end of the probation, which was only a 12-month probation, all I had to do was stay out of trouble. They would have knocked that down to a malicious destruction of private property. Rick couldn't stay out of trouble. I wasn't very good. I think that I actually dishonorably discharged off of that one though, so I didn't get the time for that, but I got time for the other case that came up while I was on probation, doing the most. Now, if he'd gotten in trouble, then he would have faced 2 to 5 years for the possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. So Chumlee, absolutely, he managed to keep his nose clean, and he honorably discharged off of this probation about 2 years into the 3 years probation. Come February, the end of February 2018, Chumlee was set free. He didn't owe the state anything else. Now, a part of it was they forced him into counseling, and not only did they force him into counseling, they actually recommended who he would have to go to. Now, one day I want somebody to actually look up who these people are, who these counselors are. Obviously, they're probably, I'm not going to say they are, but allegedly golf buddies of the judges or the DA. I'm just going to put that out there. Like, you can't just say, hey, I need you to go see Paul Simon over there and talk to him for the next 2 years. That's a part of your probation. You should just say, hey, you need to show that you are actually going and seeking out counseling. You can't name the actual counselor. They did that in this case. Now, he also had to forfeit all of the dope.
If anybody ever been on probation, like this guy, Nitro was on probation for a small amount of green devil's lettuce stuff. So, during that probation, I had to go use the bathroom whenever they called me and said, hey, you need to come down and use the bathroom. It's time for you to use the bathroom, Nitro. So while you're in there using the bathroom, you have a man that opens the door and watches you use the bathroom. I want y'all to tell me what his job description is and what he tells people. Hey, what do you do for a living? I'm a... Sorry about that, everybody. My mama called. When mama calls, you have to answer your phone. So my mom's, she battled cancer, went through stage 4 lung cancer, and she's in the hospital sick again. She has arthritis so bad they removed all of her lung and all of the cancer, and she went through 2 sets of chemo down in Florida University, and she's cancer free, but she has huge masses of arthritis building up in her shoulders and her chest and in her neck. But anyway, sorry, mom called. I had to answer. Back to the video on Chumlee. So let's finish hearing what Vegas profile stories. So don't remember, go over to Vegas profile stories and show him some love from Life's Resurrection Project, and back to the video.
Obvious house that they had confiscated in the seas. What does Chumlee really make on Pawn Stars? It's said that he makes about $25,000 per episode. But here's the deal. When Pawn Stars was early in his beginning, Chumlee was not far-sighted at all. He sold half of his stake to Rick, Corey's dad, for $155,000. Basically, what that breaks down to is Chumlee, for $155,000, sold half of his stake, and now he makes that $155,000 in about half a year. So basically, he traded half of his lifetime earnings on the show for half a year's pay. Now, even after making that short-sighted of a blunder, Chumlee's worth about $5 million. Now, in 2017, while he was on probation, Chumlee opened up Chumlee's Candy Shop, which is right there across the street from the world-famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. The tourists that come and they want to see the pawn shop, guess what? There's Chumlee's Candy over there, and they sell stuff like Pez dispensers, old school stuff like Big League Chew, or, things like that. And Chumlee went and got himself gastrosurgery, so he's lost about 100 pounds, so I don't think he's eating too much candy. In 2019, Chumlee went and got himself married to a woman named Olivia. They were doing good. Then all of a sudden in 2020, he scrubbed all of his social media of Olivia. Now, he hasn't come out and said anything on the subject, which is none of our business. But even a blind man can see
Olivia. Every Olivia I've ever known's been a goofy blonde. So, wow, did I just say that?
Hey, that's the old social media divorce right there. Growing up in Vegas, what are my thoughts on the Chumlee case? Having the drugs laying around, that's no big thing. That's every day in Vegas. Them charging him for having trace amounts of something, that's bullshit. It shouldn't be allowed, but it is. Having that many weapons, though over the top, not illegal. None of the weapons were illegal except for he hadn't registered most of them in his name. Being a bachelor, 30 years old, being famous, I don't know. He was just living his life having fun. Now as for the scumbag charges. Well, Las Vegas does not let people get away with those type of charges. That's a big fact. Had there been anything to those, he absolutely would have been convicted on them. Say any of the detectives had found any, even minor, proof that had gone on, they would have arrested him when they arrested him on all this other stuff. It's pretty eye-opening saying that they did not do anything further with that case. Now, would I mess with somebody who was actually arrested under those premises, having their house raided under a scumbag charge investigation? Well, I would need to see every shred of paperwork on it. Even then, I would still be leery of them. And I know that that's a terrible thing to say, because it's well known that women see semi-famous dudes as paychecks when it comes to something like that. It's been happening more and more every day in the media. Rich guy goes out on a date with a lady. He gets it in. All of a sudden, she claims, hey, I didn't allow that. I'm going to need that money on the civil trial. I don't care what happens to you. You can go to prison forever. Then there's the flip side of that coin. There are a lot of famous or semi-famous men that just do whatever they want. They think, hey, I'm famous and you're nobody. Nobody's going to believe you. Give me some chom-chom. And those are the type of scumbags that deserve to be put away forever. Now, had he gone to prison, not being charged or convicted on either of those charges, would he have been all right on the Nevada yard? See, that's a touchy one. You'll have half the fellas who are saying, hey man, there's no conviction on that. We're not going to put a move on the dude if there's no conviction on it. Then you're going to have those other guys who are going to say, hey man, I saw something on TV saying you were arrested for this. You're that type of dude. And they go in and make their move. There's a lot of dudes in Nevada that would move on him if he had ever hit the yard, even not being convicted of that, just being arrested and in the news saying that he had been arrested in that type of investigation. So that's what we got on Chumlee. It's a ugly situation, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people that feel a certain different way. Some good, some bad. I'm kind of right in the middle, like, it sucks, but you did get charged with that, so what was going on? Being from Vegas, I can kind of see what was going on. And then the cops just used that as a way to get into his house after this girl said, oh, he's got all this different type crazy stuff in his house. Well, they got their search warrant together. They added all of those things, obviously, to it, because you can't come in looking for a computer and take anything but a computer. So for them to put individually on that warrant all these different things that they had seized, well, they knew what they were coming to look for before they were coming to look for it. And thank you for coming to Vegas Prison Stories. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.
All right, what's going on with Chumlee? Sounds like Chumlee got himself in a pickle. Oh, in a pickle. That's a funny one. So, all right, everybody. I'm going to end this right here. Brat should be coming home from the hospital. I think the Rottweiler wants to say hi, Bubba. Say hi, Bubbies. Hi, Bubbies. Are you waiting on Mommy to come home? Have you been watching for her? You better go watch for your mommy. Yeah, he's waiting for his mommy to come home. And everybody, there's Miss Princess. Hi, honey. You want the ball? Does he want the ball, Princess? No? You want the ball, Bubby? He's like, yeah, Dad, that's my ball. All right, everybody. And that would be Vegas Profiles. Show his channel some love. And we'll see you on the next one. Like, subscribe, and share. Nitro and Brat from Life's Resurrection Project. Bye.